Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the NorthField Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Gordon. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be a part of the program today. As always, want to say thanks to our friends at Outpost Coffee for providing us with incredible caffeinated beverages. Check these guys out, outpostcoffeeco.com. Well, on the program today, we have Pastor Chris Gore from First Baptist Church of Beggs, and we're going to have a great conversation. We're recording this the Monday before Christmas, so we're just going to get in to talk about ministry and life and how God has done a work in his heart to propel him into the atmosphere to preach the good news, not only in Beggs but literally around the world. He's been on a documentary about abolishing abortion. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about those topics and just hope the conversation encourages you as you walk through this Christmas week. Love y'all. Welcome to the NorthField Podcast. Pastor Chris, how in the world are you, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. How about you, Caleb?
Brother, I'm telling you, doing really well. You make a decision at Labor Day to try to do a home renovation, and
Labor Day.
yes, and you think it's going to be done, but unforeseen circumstances, things that are out of your control, things that are out of the control of the contractor. I mean, it's nobody's fault. It's just one of those things that I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it is what it is, right?
And yeah. All the craziness on top of it, kids and whatnot and everything else. And it just gets pretty wild.
Yeah, you ask the Lord for patience, and yes, son, here you go.
Here, I will open the windows of heaven for you.
Are you guys ready for Christmas?
We are. We better be, right? It's because it's coming right around the corner. Yeah, we've just about got everything done. We're in the mode now of kind of getting the house and everything ready to just enjoy the rest of the week. But as you know, as a pastor, holiday season is kind of more difficult for us because there's all these days with all these family events, but Sunday still comes. Right. And so you still got to have the sermon ready. So it kind of truncates all the, sort of office work that you would do.
Yep.
So
you got to get that.
Just trying to focus on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Wild. So I just wanted to have you on the podcast. I've been having a couple of different pastors on the podcast. And I just wanted to just hear your heart and your in terms of ministry. Tell us how the Lord got a hold of you and then your call into ministry.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I became a Christian when I was 10. I grew up in sort of like a nominally Christian home. We would go to different churches about once every month. My dad is actually the son of a pastor.
Okay.
But various things had happened and he had just, sort of grown away from the Lord a little bit. And so it was actually through a baseball coach who said, "Hey, if you want to come to my son's, birthday party, you can stay the night. But if you stay the night, we go to church tomorrow." And I was like,
"Oh, wow. Fine. Praise the Lord."
Yeah. So I went and then, enjoyed it at first, just the time spent with other kids. And sure. He would come and pick me up every Sunday in a church van. And I remember hiding and like peeking through the blinds to see that he was. And now as an adult, I know that's totally obvious. Like you can so see that. Like if someone peeks through the blinds, I felt very like ninja-ish.
Like
anyway,
you can't see me.
But the Lord used that eventually. I even remember the sermon where it really was an awakening of my heart. Like all of a sudden, everything that the pastor was talking about felt very much like you need to listen. Like this is, and I remember gripping onto the pew in front of me and just really being like, just obviously rocked by the message and my thoughts on eternity and my soul. And the Lord was just really using that. So that was it at 10, and then, was in church throughout that time. And it was as a high schooler that I really felt a desire to be a pastor. And I probably was a senior in high school. In fact, I know I was a senior in high school. I was really wrestling with it and had all my plans for college. Had even applied to colleges and knew what I was going to do and where I was going to go.
Yeah.
And the Lord really said, I think you're doing all that for selfish reasons. And I think you're doing it, to pursue worldliness and stuff like that. And so, I decided, it's an honorable thing to shepherd uh, a body of believers, and I want to give my life to that and study to be approved to do that. And that was a shock to my family. It was a shock from where they thought I was going, and the plans. I remember my dad actually talked to the pastor, tried to tell him to talk me out of it. Uh,
Don't do this. Don't go this route.
yeah, no. So I went there, started, uh, you know, studying at Oklahoma Baptist University in biblical languages, and then it was during that time that I actually got introduced to this church here that I'm at.
Awesome.
I was, in Beggs, First Baptist Beggs. My youth minister when I was growing up had come here to be the youth minister here. It was a really growing ministry at the time.
Yeah.
Really a one church town, like sort of like a one pony town. It is a one church town, and so he was here and he asked me to come speak, and I came and spoke at like a fifth quarter, which is like a after high school football game.
Yeah.
And then they asked me to come on, and he asked me to work with him during the summer, and I did. And he left to go on to another church, and I stayed and helped. And then this is actually the church that sent me to seminary.
Oh, wow.
And then lo and behold, I get done with seminary, and as things worked out, I was actually didn't think I would be coming back here per se. I love the area. But it's funny, when I was first dating, my wife is from here. I met my wife here while serving here. I remember when we first were going out, I would always go back to like Shawnee during the weekdays and just come here on Sunday and help.
Sure.
But I remember when I was taking her out for one of our first dates, and we were trying to rent a movie, and they had nothing. And and but I said, well, where's your, we went to like the gas station and like one rack of movies to choose from. And so she's like, oh no, we got to go to Sepulpa for that. So Sepulpa, she said, that's 20 minutes away. It's like, you live 20 minutes from a Blockbuster? I said, how do you people live like this?
You gotta dedicate yourself to the movie, man. You're dedicated. It's awesome.
Yeah. So and now, I love it here. I've been pastor here for 16 years.
Praise the Lord.
And I don't plan on being anywhere else. So
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
There is my dad was the pastor of the church that I went to until I became a pastor myself, until the Wednesday before he died. He passed 30, almost 40, it's 35 years, so close to 40 years. So, I mean, was faithful to shepherd Trinity Baptist Church here in town. Just to hear that you say that, and just the longevity is so incredible. It's so amazing. So, man, I love that. So tell us, so the first time I met you was actually at the abortion clinic in Tulsa, and you were preaching on the sidewalk. Our mutual friend, Pastor Brett, he had asked you to preach, and you just unloaded a message, and I literally stood there and I was just going, wow. And it was incredible. So how did you get involved with the abolition movement?
Well, it actually happened because of a Senate bill that was being pushed through, oh golly, I don't even know how many years ago that was. I'd like to say it's probably more years than I care to think. And I was really weighing, where to stand on the issues, and I hadn't really thought out, why do I hold? I mean, I knew I was against abortion.
Yeah.
And I knew that abortion was wrong, but I hadn't really thought of, where do I put myself in terms of understanding biblical justice and what the Bible is actually calling for. Sort of just held myself in this pro-life narrative that I had just sort of grown up with and just assumed. And I really started to wrestle with, what is the righteous thing, right? And as I did that, I actually went and visited with a senator who had authored a bill, Senator Joseph Silk, and was talking to him. And it happened to be that as I walked in to really discuss the bill, I just wanted to discuss it.
Sure.
There's a guy named Russell Hunter there. And so, I'm just sort of, just dialoguing with these guys and genuinely just trying to understand, where I think the Bible would have me to stand, and, worked it out that way. And eventually just came to recognize that the total abolition of abortion was the only biblical position that I could support. And
Right.
so, yeah. So then, of course, then I realized, oh my God. And that was the real eye-opening thing, was that when someone was like, oh, so, would you like to go preach at the abortion mill? And I was like, there are abortion mills, aren't there, in our state? Like, I had never even
You didn't
considered
even realize it. Yeah.
No, I hadn't even, like, I knew it happened. I was like, it was always like this ethereal sort of thing that happened over there. And so I went and I spoke at the abortion clinic, really ministered there to women to try and, get them to not commit these murders. And I talked to abortion worker, like everyone. And yeah, it was very eye opening. And that's why I always encourage people. I was like, if you're going to take a position on this, wherever you're going to stand, you at least need to go to the abortion mill one time.
Yeah.
Like, just go once, just to see what it's really like.
So what really started it was my son, who at the time was a junior in high school, went down. There was some mutual friends, and he was like, "Dad, you've got to come down here." And I only went down a couple of times just because our schedules were just so wonky. But man, the couple times that we were down there, I was just blown away by people, because everybody makes the thought process or statement that, oh, they're having these abortions because they can't afford it, and they're driving up in like ridiculous cars. And I'm just like, they're driving nicer cars than I'm driving. And they're screaming at you saying, you don't understand what it's like, we're broke. And I'm like, really? And the vitriol and the anger that comes at you is just, you don't realize it until you stand there and see. And no one was there saying anything hateful. No one was saying anything. No one was saying anything to try to fight with anyone. We were just simply saying, come talk to us. Give us an opportunity to persuade you not to do what you're trying to do. We're pleading for the life of your unborn child. That's it. No one was making fun. No one was saying hateful things. But yet the way abolitionists are painted is in the light of just this monster of a man who hates women, who wants to see women pressed down.
Oh yeah. And that's what, you're exactly right. And I remember, I mean, you go there enough, you see that, you see, it's like and that's just not like a one day thing. That's a very common sort of what is happening. And I remember, you want to talk about, you hate women and stuff like that. I remember one particular instance, because it was abnormal for me when they pulled up. It was a group of Asian men that pulled up, two Asian driver and a passenger, and this girl got out the back. And what shocked me was how little she was. Like, that's a young girl, but she got out, and I really tried to talk to her, try to come talk to us. We'll help you any way we can, all this stuff. And they drove away. And I remember they parked toward the back, and they just sat and stood out there and smoked cigarettes and watched us. And I thought, I wonder what they're doing. Like, why are there two men here? Like, why? And I really would, plead with them to do the manly thing and protect the child, protect her. Like, all these things come and talk to me. I'd love it. They would just stand back there. And then eventually they get in the car, they pull up, and they pick her up and they drive away. And I just happened to be watching the car. It turned to the right to leave the clinic. And I just thought, man, that is just off. It's like, there's something off about that. When I left, I drove by, and if you know where the Tulsa clinic is, it's not in the best part of town, or where it was. It wasn't in the best part of town. And I drove back through a shopping center that's on the north side of that. Do you remember that little shopping center back there?
Yep.
That car was parked at the Asian massage parlor. And I realized that young girl was probably being trafficked at that massage parlor, and they were forcing her to get an abortion So I mean, this was 15 minutes after they left. I drove away. They're out there sitting at their car, and she's back inside the massage parlor. And I went, who's really against women here? Because it is a total front for sex trafficking, for pimps. I mean, there's a lot of that going on as well. So you have the people pulling up in Cadillacs, or you have the people pulling up in Cadillacs having the girls get out, who are being forced to get these abortions. So you got both of those. You got both of those sides, and none of them are the women helped by keeping abortion legal.
Yeah. And this is the thing that really struck me is for the, because my whole life I've been pro-life. I went to pro-life rallies. I did all the things. We stood out and held signs and said, please, we held the little baby, replicas of the fetuses to try to help people understand. And I was always I was like, pro-life is good. Pro-life is good. But then I got to realizing there's so many pro-life senators and there's so many pro-life organizations that if abortion was abolished today, they would lose their source of income tomorrow. And now I understand.
And when you say source of income, you realize that some of them are making well over $200,000 a year.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what really got me too, Caleb, was when I was working to get these bills, and I assumed that the pro-life would be on our side, and they were the ones fighting the most strenuously to stop the abolition bills. Yeah. They were the ones who would go to the senators, the ones who would watch to see what senators we went to, and go to those senators after we left. When we got that senator support, would go after us and throw the weight of pro-life lobbying behind them. Yeah. To say, which in Oklahoma, if the pro-life groups come out and will say, this other person is more pro-life than you, even though you're an abolitionist, they'll say this other person is more pro-life. That can change elections. It can change someone's political standing. So it was a weighty thing, and that really was frustrating to me. It was, so going to the abortion clinic was eye-opening, and then going and pushing for these abolitionist bills and being opposed less by the left and more by pro-lifers. It wasn't Democrats coming in and shutting it down. It was the pro-life groups who would talk people out of supporting the bills.
And that was the thing that blew my mind, is I saw so many of these conservatives or Republicans or whatever you wanted to call them, who said they're Christian conservatives, who are saying, no, we can't make the woman's a victim. And if you go to those clinics, the majority of the time, I would say 99% of the time, the woman is not a victim. The baby is a inconvenience to her lifestyle. And this is the thing that people, what about rape, Caleb? What about rape? And I said, I know someone personally who was raped, and she was not, at the time, was not a believer, and said, it's not the child's fault that the dad was a jerk and wicked. So I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to kill the baby. And she had this young man, and he's a thriving member of the community, honor roll student, plays in the band, does the whole 9 yards. I mean, just a great kid. Ran with my boys, and it was like they told us that one night at our house, and I was just like, whoa. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So people, when they say, well, what about rape? I'm like, well, I have a really good friend who is proof that you don't have to kill your baby. And so I just, my heart,
and it's just never good. It's just never good to start a judicial system or a justice system where the children can be punished for the sins of the father.
Absolutely.
That's not going to be good. So, yeah,
it's wild. But
that's an amazing story.
It's crazy. Like
I'm gonna steal that story. I'll be like, I know a guy.
Come on,
who knows the guy? Yeah.
Listen, it was a while. We were in our house, and she openly tells us the story, and I literally, my jaw drops, and I was like,
because you're right. Even as an unbeliever, it makes it even more poignant. Because even as an unbeliever, they know. And that's the thing. Yeah. People are like, well, we have to make it unthinkable. We have to. I was like, everyone knows. They know it's a baby. Yeah. They know it's a child. They know this is wrong. It's 100%. Not a matter of knowledge. It's a matter of if given freedom, humans will often choose to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Knowingly.
It's almost like we may be depraved in our.
Almost as if totally.
I mean,
Even.
totally.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh man, well, yeah, that was so for folks listening or watching this. This was the introduction to Chris and I's relationship. I was standing on the sidewalk. He was preaching, and I was like, I got to get connected with this brother. He's doing fantastic things. And then, if you all don't get a chance, you should go listen to him preach. You can find all his sermons online. First Baptist Bags, right?
Yeah, FBC Bags. FBCBegs.com, FBC Begs. We have podcasts on Apple, and our sermons are on YouTube, of course, Facebook, stuff like that.
So, absolutely. Yeah. It's great. So what, as you started a school.
I did.
Talk about your school.
The Foundry. I was actually kind of disappointed that I'm not wearing a cardigan. As soon as I sat down and turned on the camera, I went, "You're even in a cardigan. Like, what are you doing? This is my..." That's
your thing, man, is the cardigan.
I was like, this is ridiculous. So yeah, we started a school now 3 years ago.
Okay.
And we're still by invitation only. We hope to open that up this next year. Okay. But what we wanted to be was we wanted to build something generational for the town of Beggs and the Okmulgee, Southern Tulsa area, of just like an educational hub. So where people would get good quality Christian education, where God wasn't just always a part of the education, but where he was the core of every subject.
Come on.
So every subject is built. So that's the idea. Our motto as the Foundry is melted by his glory, molded by his word. So the idea is we see who God is, that sort of just melts us and help us to know. And then his word then shapes who we're supposed to be. So every subject comes from that very theocentric vision where we're not just tacking God onto the end. He's the source of understanding everything. And so we very much borrow from a classical education model. But we also do things like we're wanting to raise not just educated people who understand the arguments and can dialogue back. We're a very dialogue-centric sort of model, especially in the older groups. Right now, we break up into younger kids and older kids. The younger kids are just learning more of the memorizations and dates and stuff like that. The older kids, we try to make it very much a dialogue. So, for example, our government class is going to meet tomorrow. Joseph Silk actually teaches our government class. But this semester is almost like a colloquial sort of model. Yep. So we will sit down. They're going to sit down for like 2.5 hours on a Tuesday. We make coffee, and these older kids get together. We throw out a government issue, and we sort of hash it out. We might tell them to take, you take this side, you take that side, and we just work through that. But we also focus on the practical. So we have sewing classes, we have music classes. We have, we're starting up what we call Foundry Tech. The idea is we're going to teach young men. We have an outdoors class as well. We've got starting in January, we'll have like a homesteading class that is homesteading / family business class. So it's also going to teach like how to get into cottage industry stuff for ladies who are staying at home and yet wanting to help out there. So that's starting in January class, on that. And then we'll teach like general plumbing, electrical, HVAC, those sorts of things, just to make, well-rounded men who are able to really have dominion over their sphere there. Instead of always have it, we found out that, a lot of us men we always are having to hire things out to, technically we don't really understand the ins and outs of everything. So, giving that level of education there too. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, we want, and we've got like a 10-year vision. And of course, like I said, we want to be generational. So we're wanting to put something in place to where if you want to be taught something, we will help it to be taught. We'll mold it and have it done here. So we teach. We're going to offer to teach homeschoolers how to get into homeschooling. You don't like some people may not want to join the Foundry and go through our 6-year curriculum that we've got for the older kids. They may say we really love homeschool, but we're just trying to get into it. We don't know how. We'll offer homeschool like mentorship. We'll offer the private school model as well. You can come part-time, you can come a la carte, you can take certain classes, you can go through the whole thing. We just want to make something that is going to help people to take a real lead in the education of their children, where we sort of help that, complement that as best we can, and help them to just center all their education in God and His glory.
Man, it's so great. You see the insanity of the public education system, and you have a beacon of hope. And so, man, I applaud and I thank you for being a man who's willing to step into that sphere and take dominion in that area of education. So it's so good. Just in a couple minutes that we got left here, what as a pastor, what if you could sit down with a group of people and give them just a couple minutes of what's the most important thing, what would you say to that group of people?
Of course, if you're talking like most important thing, and then I'm wanting to talk to them about, Christ and
Sure.
all of that. But if I'm saying, right now, what is something that I think Christians are needing to grab onto in our current sphere? I'm gonna be cheating because it's kind of what we've been talking about.
Sure.
And I say that because I think it's a real deficiency. We've been walking through the Lord's Prayer, and I think just a deficiency in understanding the Christian and our need to pray, deliver us from evil. I think as Christians, we really don't understand, the spiritual realm that is at work out there, and we either become, we just ignore it, right? We just ignore it, and I think we've just become more materialistic than we've realized. We would all eschew evolution, say evolution's crazy. We've taken on sort of a materialistic view of creation as a whole. I encourage you, go read Psalm 89. It's really good. But I would say we either do that or we become just petrified of anything spiritual. It's that old, no one likes to walk through the church alone at night. Sort of thing, so I think we've gone one of the two ways, and I don't think either one is right. I think we need to understand there's a very real wicked, unseen realm out there, but there is also a great and glorious Heavenly Father who is omnipotent, who is the Almighty One, and who has a host that encamp around His children. And so I think if I could encourage anything to Christians, I'd say to be more militant in really advancing the gospel wherever they are, to see that they've been placed in their city, in their church, for a reason. They are little outposts of the kingdom. And my wife and I have a podcast called Kingdom Outpost Podcast. That's kind of the idea. Is we see our house as an outpost of the kingdom of God, and we're to minister to the people around us. We're that city on a hill. We got to shine. So we're going over. We see our neighbors as enemy territory that we want to invade, and we want to rob them from the prince of darkness, and let the Lord use the proclamation of the gospel from our mouths and the presence of the gospel in our lives to pull them out of that kingdom of darkness, place them in the kingdom of His Son. And so just to be more, just to take on that mission of because Christ is Lord, because He is reigning, putting all His enemies under His feet, like you then confidently can go across the street to your neighbor. And you can also, our church also, we just started a pastoral training center in Tanzania, Africa. You can also do that. And you're doing whatever the Lord has placed in front of you.
Right.
And you're doing it militantly, and you're doing it intentionally, and you're doing it confidently. You're not going, well, we're going to do this, but I bet it's not going to work. I bet it's not going to work, but
we're gonna work. It's
the gospel
gonna work.
Powerful. The gospel is very powerful. The Lord uses it, blesses to 1,000 generations. So just go and see where the Lord has put you, and see that as intentional have the confidence then to be his soldier wherever you are. That's
Come
what I
on.
would encourage you
I
with.
love that. And everybody listen to Pastor Chris. Y'all need to catch what this brother has, because I'm telling you, that's how we win. We don't come in half-hearted and just sort of, well, maybe it's going to work. No, it's going to work. The gates of hell can't prevail against the church. Yeah. And so let's go. Like, let's just jump in both feet. So thank you.
One of the scariest things to the gates of hell is your family's dinner table. And so you can invite, whether it's with your family or you inviting neighbors over to sit around your dinner table and just you show them hospitality, you show them love of strangers when the rest of the world is so self-centered. That's a scary thing. When the enemy hears that you've invited one of theirs over to your table inside the kingdom's camp, it's a frightening thing.
I love it. I love that. That is, that's our goal for kicking off in 2024, finishing up this year, but really jumping in 2024 is we're getting bigger tables, and we want more people in. And so that's been a thing for us as a family. So man, thank you for encouraging me in that, and our listeners as well. Man, just a blessing to have you on the show. So I appreciate you for being here today and taking time out of your schedule to talk to us for just a little bit.
Thanks, Caleb, so much.
Absolutely, my brother.